This is part 6 of things to do in Sydney, Australia. Visit Taronga Zoo. Taronga Zoo is situated in Mossman, Sydney, and it is one of the most spectacular places to visit if you are coming to Sydney for a holiday. It's also an amazing day out for those of us who live here in Sydney as well. We started our day off by looking at the giraffes, and oh my gosh, they are absolute beauties. I hadn't realised that my family hadn't seen giraffes before, so they were super excited to have a look at them, and I felt so lucky to have been looking at these animals since I was really little. I really hadn't focused on them so much before, and so one of the things that came up was how beautiful they truly are. Their eyes even look like they have makeup on. I mean, look at that. She's stunning. We truly did spend a long time looking at her, and I don't regret it at all. We then moved on to have a look at the chimpanzees, and these two were just chasing each other around. We got there right at the right time. The little one then had his mum come up after him, and I tell you what, this was just so delightful to see. It reminded me of my daughter Kiki running into the bedroom when I was going to give her milk or something, and me jumping in the bed after her. They truly were lovely to have a look at. We are so lucky that we get to see the animals in this kind of habitat. And thankfully, they have so much space to move around and play, and they seem to be quite happy. There is so much to see at the park that you never get bored with the animals, and we were walking through this little area here before we came into the African space and the meerkats. And oh my gosh, this little guy, he was just so adorable. Look at him running around, and he is so much smaller than any other animals that we saw. I could have stayed here with him all day long. The African area, in fact, was really cool. They had it all set up, and they also showed us how they raise money to send back to Africa.
All that we can learn. I love all the subjects that we learn, but my favorite subjects are mathematics, English, and Swahili.
After the interactive space, the girls had an obligatory photo with the gorilla, and then we went off to see the seal show. This is a highlight if you ask me, and Kiki loved it. Elephants were next on the list, and we got lucky. They were having feeding time when we got there. The zookeepers hide the food from them, and it was really interesting to watch them grabbing it out with their trunk and feeding themselves. We always look to see what shows are on, and the next show that was on was going to be the bird show. So we went and had a little family photo and then watched.
And connect with the remarkable birds that are all around us. All you guys have to do is look up.
If you're going to go to the zoo, you do not want to miss the bird show. It's one of those things that I take all foreign visitors to see. Not only is the show really educational, but you get to see the spectacular views of Sydney City. It is hot though, so make sure you've got sunblock and a hat on when you're there.
Now this is Slammer, and even with Slammer's beak and feet, he still needs help to get inside an emu egg, and the rock is the perfect tool for the job. Now what you're witnessing is not something that Slammer was ever taught to do. This is instinct, hatching from their own egg with this knowledge already in their brain. And with close to 2 days worth of food inside this hard shell, fortunately their instincts are so strong they will persist until they get inside. Now this red-tailed cockatoo's name is Giri Giri, which actually means very red, describing the flash of colour that the males have within their tail. Now red-tailed cockatoos are not local to Sydney, but Taronga is still home to a huge diversity of plant and animal life, but Taronga is habitat. Now earlier we selected 2 volunteers who are going to provide habitat for Monotoka. She is a female red-tailed cockatoo. Now as a female, her black body is covered in lots of yellow flecks, but when she flies, her tail's quite different. It transitions in colour through yellow, orange to red. Monotoka actually gets her name from a significant plant found within her environment, and the connection between plants and animals is incredibly strong.
Now, as soon as we left the birds, we wanted to see the tigers because that's a space that we missed last time we were here. I love this area because it feels like you're overseas and you're really immersed in like a different culture. But I've got to tell you, this was the space that I found to be the most crowded, and also the part that felt like the animals perhaps didn't have as much space as I would have hoped. You'll see in a sec, there were people everywhere, and I guess everyone just wants to see the tigers, but Kiki was on Marcus's shoulders. You couldn't really see anything. People were taking photos. There was a lot of talking and yelling, and obviously the tiger was just having a sleep. This one was a little bit further out of the way, and I enjoyed looking at him. And look, I've got to be honest, the space here is incredible because it teaches people about what is good for tigers and what's not good for tigers in regards to like our own shopping choices and things like that. If you haven't seen my video on Nutella, go back and have a look at it because it truly is an interesting concept that they've got going on here. Next on the list were the hippos, and there was only one hippo that I could see, but actually take a little look a little bit closer because this hippo, this mama hippo, had just had a baby hippo. I don't know what they're called, calves? I'm not sure. But anyway, look, the baby was just there and it was so gorgeous. These little cheeky monkeys, I've got no idea what these ones are actually called. Tree monkeys, perhaps? I'm not sure. But these ones were funny as, and they were coming at us and kind of shaking the branches, and I really enjoyed just sitting here and filming them for a little bit. But I don't mind saying they were little rascals. They were making everyone around them laugh. And just another area that was really interesting to see. We were at the zoo from about 10 until 5. Like, we were there for a really long time. And we did leave the backyard area for Kiana at the end. It was a bit of a shame because we saw so many animals that by the time we got here, it was pretty close to closing time. I'm not a huge fan of this section just because I don't like insects personally. But Marcus absolutely loved it because he's really into that kind of thing. It's another educational space, which I imagine school tours would come to and have a look through. And I've got to admit, these little grasshoppery stick thingies were good. It took ages to spot them. They were so hard to spot, and we were just looking in there for ages trying to figure out exactly where they were. At first, I thought there was like 1 or 2, and by the end, I think we'd counted 16 or so. Anyway, as you can see, these coloured dots areas, they've all got creepy crawlies inside them. So if you're interested in learning about those types of bugs and things, then this really is an awesome space. The girls were not so impressed by this bit. Kiki loved the bunnies and she had to have a little sister hug here. But yeah, they're so cute. And this is the area where all of the stuff is sweet and your kids are just going to love it. There's plenty of space for them to run around and really enjoy the area. This part was where they have the llamas. So, of course, the family had already made their way over to see them. But I wanted to show you the park. There is water in this park over here and the kids can come and play. You could spend a whole day just in this area. But anyway, I thought I would walk over and just check out Mr. Llama because they seem to be having a lot of fun. Kiki was calling out to all of the animals, which I just thought was adorable. And I love bringing her to see animals these days because she really likes to interact with them. Anyway, there he is, Mr. Llama, having a feed as well. We got lucky with the fact that we were there when they were all being fed. Following that, the family went inside the barn area and I came over to have a look at the little goats. So there were a few. There was one that was standing on a rooftop and then there were these 2 here, but they are just so sweet. We desperately wanted to see the kangaroos before we had to go home and we made it just in time. These guys were having a sunbake and they were really relaxed. But I was trying to get their attention, you know, clicking my tongue and all of that sort of stuff. It just didn't work. The little guy on the end off to the right, he did look up though. So I think that is how you call them, you know, like something like that, like a horse. I'm not sure. Anyway, we had to bolt to the gate because the whole park was closing, but Mr. Echidna was just adorable. I've actually never seen one walking before, and he was quicker than I imagined they would be. So anyway, off he went, and he trundled off into his little home up the back. Honestly, having a look at animals just brings you back to your own childhood. They are all so interesting to have a look at. Kiki was pooped by the end of the day, as was I, but the pram obviously came in handy to push her up the hill. Taronga Zoo is pretty steep, so if you've got a little one, make sure you take your pram. Anyway, guys, check it out. It's an amazing day.